I'm going to turn off mine. All right. Mastermind with Neil Schwartz. Well, a very exciting, very special, and repeat guest. We haven't had many of these repeat guests, and that is Marcy Murphy from Scottsdale, Arizona. Marcy, welcome.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Looking forward to this. So Marcy and I, just to give you a little bit of background, actually did an interview about 2.5, 3 years ago, didn't we? Just as COVID started, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and we were talking about different things, and the interview, as kind of happens in our different interviews, it kind of went a little slightly different. It kind of turned into a coaching call, right?
Lucky for me.
Yeah, well, it was lucky for us because it was pretty amazing. So we kind of turned our interview into a coaching call. So, but first of all, Marcy, tell them a little bit about yourself and like a little Reader's Digest, where you're from, how many years in the business, maybe how much time with Mike Ferry, et cetera, and then we can kind of move along from there.
Sure. So I've been in real estate since '98, full-time in Arizona since 2002. And I was introduced to Mike Ferry very shortly after moving to Arizona. So ever since I started this business and I've been full-time working this business, I've been fortunate enough to be coached through the Mike Ferry organization.
Okay, great. Excellent. Who's your coach right now?
Maverick.
Good guy. And at the time we talked, which was, I don't remember what month, but basically just after the COVID, after April, May, June, something like that. You were doing about how much business at the time?
About 50 deals a year.
Okay, good. So a good number. And most of that past client and sphere, what was it?
At the time, it was about 35% past client and sphere, 35% expireds, and then the rest was a combination of for sale by owner, just listed, and things like that.
Got it. Okay. And in terms of, so kind of where this started to work, and about how much money were you making?
I was making between 450 and 500,000.
Okay, doing 45 to 50 deals.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. And about how much time were you spending prospecting past client and sphere, and how much time were you prospecting expireds?
I was probably spending about 2 hours on expireds and about 15 minutes on my sphere.
Okay, and that's where we entered the coaching.
Correct.
That's where we started to talk about, whoa, wait a minute. That was probably a quote, right?
Right.
So we were saying, wow. So you were doing a lot of calling on expireds, spending a lot of time, effort, and energy on expireds, 2 hours a day. So what was that? 300 hours, something?
Math is not my strong suit, Neil.
Okay. So if it's 2 hours a day and it was 200 days, let's call that 400 hours of prospecting.
Okay.
All right. So what you're telling us is that basically you're doing 400 hours of prospecting and doing 35% of your business, and you were doing 15 minutes a day for 200 days. So that would be 50 hours of prospecting for 35% of your business. That was the aha moment.
Right.
Okay, that was the time where I said, well, okay, so here's an interesting thing. What if you spent a little less time on expireds, which kind of shook Marcy to the core a little bit because she spent so much time on expireds, and a little bit more time on past client and sphere? What could the difference be? And what was the exact numbers that we wanted you to do? What did we work on there?
So at the time, we shifted an hour off of what I was doing every day on expireds to an hour of my working on my sphere. And what was great for me was that I wasn't trying to find an extra hour in my day. I was just being more efficient with the time that I had already devoted to prospecting every morning.
And actually, as I recall, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt. As I recall, that was actually the question you asked me, Neil. I don't have another hour a day to call to call past client and sphere.
Right.
I do this with my children. I do this with my husband. I have a life, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I'm making $450,000, $500,000 a year. It's a good amount of money. You know, I'm in Arizona, which is a slightly less expensive state to live in, although Scottsdale's fairly expensive. I don't have another hour. And that's when we came up with, well, shift this and do this. And then let's talk about how that shifted. So
Right. And
you
one of
did,
the
go ahead.
you said to me, if you do this, you can add $100,000 onto your income next year. What would you spend it on?
And you said,
I would buy an RV.
yeah. Okay. So I would have probably spent it on something else, but an RV is good because that's what really turns Marcy and her husband on, is an RV. And what prompted this is that recently, I wish I had the photo. In the last month or so, Marcy sent me a photo of her and her new RV traveling the highways and byways of America, where she bought this thing. Now, isn't that great, Marcy?
Yes. And what's really great is that I was able to pay cash for it.
Whoa! Woohoo! And there's more to the story.
There is more to the story.
There is more to the story.
Yes.
So very, very, very cool. So when we were talking with Marcy and going over her numbers the other day, because now she has to have another goal. Right, Marcy?
Right.
Okay, so we're going to help her with this goal that she's working on, but let's talk about the numbers. So in 20, that was 20, we had the conversation. In 21, how much business did you do?
72 deals.
You did 72 deals. How many more past client and sphere?
It went from 35% to 58%.
Right. And the numbers of, you didn't increase your numbers of hours of prospecting. If anything, they shrunk slightly.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So you're actually putting less prospecting time in, making more money.
Correct.
So how much more money did you make? Another 250, 300,000?
Yes.
So you went from 500,000 to $800,000 in 21.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. And then now, just recently, you're on track for the million, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on track for 1.2 right now.
1.2 million just because of one coaching call.
Yep.
Okay, good job. So what's the $1.2 million going to get you, Marcy?
Well, right now I'm buying a house for my son. I'm in the process of that. I would say that my next big goal is, I don't know if you know this, Neil, I think you do, but most people who know me know I'm a rock climber. The majority of the people I climb with are much younger than me and don't have the kind of income I have. So I would love to get my climbing crew to some exotic climbing destination that we see in the videos that we all watch all the time, and just give them an amazing experience. Wow.
That's great. Good for you. So you're gonna fund an expedition.
I would love to do that. Yes.
You and Shackleton. For those of you that look up Shackleton, okay, he's a great explorer. Anyway, Marcy, congratulations. That's exciting. I have chills.
Thank you.
That's so wonderful. Are you going to take a new motorhome, or are you going to, do you do this in America, or has it got to be someplace else?
put them on a plane. I want to go somewhere exotic. I mean, we do regular trips with our climbing crew where everybody, road trips to someplace. But to get all our climbing gear on a plane and go somewhere, it'd be fun.
So Marcy, most of the people you climb with are probably younger, correct?
Correct.
And they don't have the financial wherewithal. Are you subsidizing any of that now along the way?
The climbing?
Yeah.
Yes. My husband and I provide a lot of the gear that we use regularly. We maintain it and make sure everything, we basically, like, when we're climbing, if we have a rope, for example, my husband is tracking how many times this rope gets used so that we retire it before it fails.
Wow.
And, the rope's a couple $100. Not everyone in my climbing crew can afford a couple $100 for a rope. We can, so we do.
That is so cool. Very, very cool.
We also do an annual trip to Joshua Tree, which is like climbing Mecca in the United States. And we pay for that trip, and we do that every year, but it's a very inexpensive thing to do.
I drive by Joshua Tree on the way to Palm Desert and wave.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I did not know all of this wonderful stuff about you.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's very cool. Good for you. Congratulations. Okay. All right. So where's business coming from in 22?
60% from my sphere.
Okay. So when you started working the sphere at a higher level, I mean, we're talking it being right now, what, 60, 70% of your income?
Yes, it's this year. Yeah. So last year it was 58% of my income.
Okay. And this year it'll be, is the growth, well, part of the growth's coming from expireds because expireds are coming back.
Right. I'm back up to about 30% expireds this year.
Got it. Okay. So when you work past client and sphere and you work expireds, they're kind of two different experiences, because one is clearly a past client sphere and an expired is new kind of cold business, correct?
Right.
Do you approach them differently?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about how you approach these expireds.
Right now, the biggest objection I'm getting from expireds right now is, well, we didn't get our price, so we're just going to wait. A lot of, when you're calling expireds, you're dealing with people who are generally frustrated. They're frustrated their home didn't sell, and they're frustrated that they're getting a million phone calls all morning long. So, you need to come at them with kindness. And a lot of people don't. One of the things I get a lot from expireds is, you're the only person I'm talking to because you're the only person that listened. And so I have an expression that is kind of my guiding principle in life, which is lead with love. So when you're approaching these people who are frustrated and they're not mad at you, they don't know you, but if you're coming at them with understanding and kindness, you're going to get a lot better result. Obviously, I'm going at my sphere with understanding and kindness as well, but I'm also calling with a little more excitement in my voice, because I'm not expecting them to be upset that they're hearing from me. So they're happier to pick up the phone and have a conversation with me.
So is most of your expired work phone work, or do you go to the doors at all?
Not so much anymore. I used to do a lot of door knocking. I haven't in years, though.
Okay. All right. So most of it's phone work.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, how early in the morning do you call? How often do you call? Is there a routine for this? Because you're pretty darn successful at it. I mean, in Arizona, you're the top productive agent, or one of the top 2, 3.
There's a lot of great agents in Arizona. We've got some really very productive agents here. So, I mean, I'm number one in my office, but I wouldn't say in the state, no.
Oh, okay. Okay. How many deals are you going to do this year? You told me. What was it?
I'm actually have a smaller number of deals. I'm on track for 62 this year.
But your price point's higher.
My price point's higher, correct.
Did you move your price point deliberately?
Over time, yes, I did. And I also developed a group of very well off people that I have nurtured that have been referring me to their friends, and all their friends have just as much money as they do. And so that's fun.
So tell me more about that. I mean, how did you target the well-heeled and how do you work
You know,
that?
I started by calling the high-priced expireds, and that's how it started, and then it kind of snowballed from there. One of the things was really, I was getting my foot in the door, but a lot of people were saying, you just don't have the track record in my price point. So I needed to figure out getting a track record in that price point. And I did that in two ways. One is I had an agent in my office who did a lot of luxury property, and he was kind enough to put me on one of his listings as a co-lister, even though I had nothing to do with it, which just gave me that a little bit of
Cachet.
It just helped that I had my name out there. And
Sure.
then I got my foot in the door on another potential listing appointment. And I spent a couple of hours previewing all the houses in the neighborhood. I went and I toured the golf course, toured the clubhouse, met with the sales gal for their club. And so when I met with the seller, I was so knowledgeable about his area that he never even questioned my track record. He just assumed I'd sold in the area because I knew so much about everything going on in the community. So he hired me on the spot, and I never looked back. Once I had those two, no one's questioned me since.
All right.
And as far as developing that relationship, I just got lucky. I got a $2.5 million listing. The buyer came from this community in Utah, and I just nurtured those relationships and continued to get the referrals coming from that same community.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You've been focused pretty well early on in 20 and part of 21. You spent a lot of time on open mic with us, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. How did you enjoy those experiences? Did you find them helpful?
Yes, it was the accountability was great. As a matter of fact, it's still on my calendar, like every day, to log in to do that. And my schedule's changed a little bit. You had asked me about my schedule, because one of the things that my coach has me doing now is starting earlier, because a lot of the Mike Ferry agents in my area start calling expireds at 7:30 in the morning, and I was starting at 8. And by the time I got to them, they were done. They talked to a half a dozen Mike Ferry agents already, and they didn't want to get another call from me. So I basically switched my schedule. So now I call all the new expireds at 7:30 in the morning. Then I take a break and I go finish my workout. And then I come back and I call my sphere. So that's why I'm not logging in, because it's like you guys aren't on the same schedule as me anymore.
Well, that's Arizona's time issues, not ours.
It's Marcy's time issues.
Marcy's time issues.
Right.
Maybe
when the clock shifts again, I don't know if that's going to make it better or worse for me to be able to join you guys.
Okay, well, anytime, you know that, we'll have you plug in. We appreciate it.
I mean, I might be able to like log in for a half an hour or an hour here or there.
Marcy, I want to switch gears slightly, and of course, you're invited anytime. But I didn't know this about you. The mountain climbing, the rock climbing rock climbing? Is that what you
rock
call it?
climbing.
Rock climbing. I suspect, and then you're talking about your working out, there's some huge disciplines because, you know, it's a dangerous sport. You've got to be strong. Your arms have to be strong. Your toes have to be strong. Your foot has to be strong. Your mind has to be strong because you got to, the pain of hanging on, you know, could be the difference between, you know, surviving and not surviving, correct?
Yes and no. Yes, in that it does hurt and you do have to push through that sometimes, but we're very safe. I'm always on rope. I'm on a harness. I'm never at risk of dying. It's not that bad. If I fall, I'm falling maybe, you know, 12 inches. I'm not going anywhere.
Got it. Okay. All right. I
But
guess what I was referring to mainly though was the discipline that you put in to your exercise, to your sport. Clearly your sport is a passion.
yes.
You know, it's a physical passion and it's a financial passion, and you're supporting, you know, I don't know what you're spending a year, but it's not nickel dime, to helping other people enjoy the sport that you enjoy, so that you're passing it along to others. There's disciplines involved in that. There's consistencies. There's being open to my conversation with you 2 years ago. You didn't know me from Adam. I didn't know you. You know, somebody had suggested that it was Gay Lee had suggested that I talk to you, I interview you, and we just called and set up a time, interviewed, and it was great, and we turned into a coaching call. So it's like you got the message, you were ready to take it, and you're making, you know, arguably $500,000 to $750,000 a year more because you put the message into action. Why did you do that and others don't, Marcy?
That's a good question. I can't speak for why others don't. I mean, you know, I've been in coaching for almost 20 years, and sometimes things just, I mean, you just hit the nail on the head with me, you know, you just hit the right issue that needed to change. And you know, so often the coaching is, well, you know, add an hour in the evening and 2 hours on the weekends. And I'm like, I'm not doing that because that doesn't work for my lifestyle. But what you offered didn't add any extra hours. It just made me more efficient. So it just resonated with me, and I was able to put it into practice pretty easily. One thing I do want to mention, Neil, is that Gay Lee, when she was coaching me, she did use my climbing as a reference for coaching me. And one of the things that she learned that she was able to then turn around and use with coaching me is, we have an expression on the rock: if you're not bleeding, you didn't try hard enough.
Oh, I like it.
So that was one of those things with, you know, did I set an appointment today? Well, no, I didn't set an appointment today. Well, are you bleeding? If you're not bleeding, you didn't try hard enough.
Where's Alma? Make me a picture of that.
Got it.
Thank you. Wow, that's really a visual. Thank you, Marcy. I appreciate it. Wow. Okay. Questions for Marcy Murphy. Questions for Marcy Murphy. Just raise a hand or scream out. Josie.
Of course.
Hi,
Neil.
Josie.
Hi. I want you to share with the group how your discipline with role play is. How many hours?
So we up until very recently, I was role playing an hour a day, plus I do 3 half hours throughout the week. So that shifted recently. That hour a day got compressed to a half hour a day because of role play partners' schedules changing. But
yeah. But you're
So-
so consistent and you show up every time.
You're not
Yeah,
one of
we-
those flaky role play partners?
Well,
no, I'm good. Because first of all, I realize how much I get out of it and how much it helps. I mean, I can say honestly, Neil, that is one of the other things that helped me grow my business in the last 12 months too, is we got that level of consistency and discipline in our role plays. So doing it for an hour a day, every day, has made a huge difference in my confidence when I go on a listing appointment. And it's fun. We make it fun and it's exciting. I love getting to use the objection handlers we practice. So when someone throws an objection, it's like, oh yes, I get to use this one now. You know, I'm not worried that they're going to say something I don't have an answer to.
Right. Oh, that's great. And knowledge is confidence.
Yep.
Fantastic. Good. Thanks, Josie. Good question. Other questions for?
So I have a question, Marcy.
Marcy.
So, you talked about how your percentage of database went up from the 30s to the 50s in terms of your business. Was that simply just from more contacts with them, or did you add another value piece? Did you use a different script? I mean, what else was there where you were getting more business from the database?
So that's a great question. I actually, in addition to the extra hours put in just having those conversations with them, I also, at least once a month, I will have lunch with a past client. I'll invite someone to lunch. And I also hired for lack of a better term, I don't know exactly what they call themselves, but a marketing company that sends out text messages to my database. So it looks like it came from me and I respond to the text, but it's sending out a happy holiday or whatever it is, or
This is Armin.
yeah, just something about the market, but something to engage in conversation and through the texting has been the majority of where that has
Extra
been
business.
concentrated.
Good. Okay. All right. Excellent.
Got it.
Good stuff. Great question, Robert. Thank you. Other questions for Marcy, please?
Can you share what that marketing company is that sends out the text?
Yeah, it's called Driven, Driven. And I can send Robert or Neil the contact information and they can share it with you guys.
Perfect. Okay, good. Excellent. All right. Marcy, what would you say your superpower is? Are you a rock and roller?
A rock and roller. No, I leave that to my son. I would say that it's interesting because Alma sent me that question, and I actually asked my assistant. I'm like, if somebody asked you this about me, what would you say? And she said, oh, that's easy. Negotiating. She said, you just have this ability to stay calm and be the voice of reason and get everybody to agree and see things from a different perspective and de-escalate things when people start to get upset. You just have a way of calming the situation and keeping everybody focused on the target of a deal coming together.
All right. Excellent. Good stuff. What are you reading right now?
Right now, I read a lot, Neil, and I usually have about 6 books going at once. So right now I'm reading The Wealthy Gardener. I'm reading Thinking Fast and Slow. I'm reading, I just am starting the E-Myth Revisited again. And I'm reading Badass Habits, and then everything else is fiction, but that's my
That's the go-to stuff right now.
right now.
So because of the scripts and dialogues and the work you do with that, the practice, is there any particular situation that comes up or comes to mind that comes up that you, when you get it, it's like, that's it, I can take this, you know, and a big goofy smile comes on your face and you're just ready to slice and dice that particular situation? Is there a particular for sale by owner, expired scenario that you can think of that you want to share?
Like as far as like an objection.
An objection handler or an
Yeah.
objection piece?
One of the objection handlers that we've practiced a lot that I learned recently that I love is when another agent is cutting their commission and they want you to cut your commission. And it's, you know, basically, Neil, would you agree that in any industry, whether it's attorneys, doctors, engineers, there are those who are more professional and more experienced and get extraordinary results, right?
Correct.
And then, of course, there are the ones that have less experience and are less professional and they don't get the results you want.
Okay.
Neil, which ones do you think lower their fees?
The second ones.
Exactly. And you deserve the best results, don't you?
Yes.
Great. Then all we have to do is sign the contract and let's get you to San Diego by November.
Got it. Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Okay, we're stealing that.
Okay, you can have it.
Thank you. All right, good stuff. Other questions for Marcy? Raise your hands. Go ahead, Ernest.
Yeah, just one more, and I don't know if it ties into your superpower of, you know, negotiating skills, but to me, I think you would qualify as an expired expert. So, and you mentioned some of these people are more upset than usual, even in today's time. Are you just a really good listener and let them get it all out? Is there anything you tell them that before you start to close and let them know that you're the one that could help them? How would you characterize that?
You know, that's a good question. And Ernest, it's really just massive approval. You're repeating and approving, right? And just let them know you heard them and don't make them wrong. You know, because so many people, when they start, you know, saying, oh, you know, the market's this, or they're just not going to sell right now. People want to tell them that, oh, you know, oh no, that you're wrong. The market's great. I can get you all the money in the world, you know. But repeat, approve, massive approval, and you know they know they're heard. They'll open up even more. People have said that to me. I've actually, when I was door knocking a lot, I had this agent in my office, an older gentleman who was training his son, and he said, "Marcy, will you take my son door knocking with you? You're so good at it, and you get such great results. I'd love him to see what you're doing." So the son went with me. And he said, "Marcy, I cannot believe how much people tell you. I've gone door knocking with my dad, and he never gets people to open up the way you do. People just tell you their whole life story." And it's just, I think, again, just listening and not making them wrong.
Got it. That's great. Thank you so much.
Great advice. Great advice, Marcy. Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Very, very good. Pop up a question. Now let's get this thing wrapped up for Marcy so she can go off and take more listings. I wanted to ask you, Marcy, what's 2 or 3 things that you would give a newer agent in this changed market, more an agent that's not producing what they want to produce and want to move to the next level? Do you got a couple of ideas?
Get into coaching if you're not already. Absolutely, hire a Mike Ferry coach is number 1. I've also said if someone's new to join a team with a top producer that you respect, that you can learn from. So, have someone that you can work side by side with, especially if that person is going to help you by generating additional leads. And set really exciting goals.
Clearly, that's what you tend to always do for yourself.
It's-
What are you
it's-
gonna do with the money?
Yeah, you got to know why you're doing it. I mean, if you don't have something that's exciting, just getting on the phone and making call after call when people are hanging up on you and, telling you, take me off your list, what's going to keep you going is the prize at the end of the day that you have to work towards. And for the last couple of years, I had a photo of the RV I wanted sitting on my desk right in front of my computer. So it was right there. And I said, one of the reasons I said to Neil, I said, I need to know what to put in this frame now. Now I've got this empty frame because I took the picture out. I've got to figure out what to put in this frame so that I have that thing that's keeping me excited about what I'm doing.
So does rock climbing include Mount Everest?
Not for me. I think that's mountain climbing.
Is that okay? So this is rock climbing would be like what?
The difference between rock climbing and mountain climbing is that I'm not a mountain climber, but I think mountain climbing is more like kind of like extreme hiking. Right?
I don't know.
That's what I think.
I haven't done either.
Okay. Whereas rock climbing is usually more of a sheer face, and it requires specific shoes and equipment. Well, I guess unless you're, Alex Honnold, then I guess you don't need equipment. You just need shoes. But for us, it's ropes and harnesses and carabiners and the right equipment and mostly sheer faces. I mean, we are holding on to things that we refer to as, raisins and potato chips. So it's a full body workout. You need to be strong in your core and everything. You're not just working your legs like what I imagine, like in hiking, you're working with your legs. With rock climbing, you're using every single muscle in your body.
Wow. That's
I
amazing.
think Armand had a question for me.
Yes. When
Go
are
ahead,
we going to
Armin.
see you in Yosemite?
Oh, that's a great question. So yeah, that is a dream. Maybe that's where I'll take my team, my crew. But so Yosemite, we need some more equipment to do that.
That is crazy. When my kids were little, took them camping and we looked up and oh my gosh, look at those people way up there.
Right. So in climbing, we talk about if something's a multi-pitch climb, it means it's longer than one length of rope. So what we do mostly is single pitch. So one length of rope is all we need. 2 or 3 pitches is the most that we climb with any regularity. Yosemite is, I think, like, the Dawn Wall or the
What is it?
El
North Face?
Capitan or something like that. That's like 30 pitches.
Wow.
So that's
I see people sleeping up on the side there.
Exactly. Yeah. You need a portaledge. My husband's dream is to spend the night on a portaledge somewhere. So
Well, don't do that until we get you a couple more interviews. But a while back when you were on our open mic, I got such a great call that I listened to you on a for sale by owner. This particular person, Marcy, kept trying to blow you off and saying, I'm not going to get you. Asked her for her address and she refused and refused and refused. And it was so awesome on how you went from one way of asking her for her address to a different way to another way. It was like 4 times that you asked her for her address and she kept saying no, but you said it in another way, in a different way that she kept on the phone. She just didn't hang up on you, So whenever you get a chance, come back and do our open mic because it was awesome.
Aw,
You still
thank
call it for
you.
sale by owners?
Yeah, I haven't been lately, but I do enjoy them. And with my role play, we've practiced for sale by owners a lot, and I've got really into them for a while. I was really excited about it, and I felt like I could just set an appointment. And you know what, Armin, thank you, because when it's like, okay, I haven't set any appointments today, I'm going to call some for sale by owners now that you brought that up, because I got to the point where I'm like, I know if I haven't set any appointments, I could call for sale by owners and set an appointment like that, because we practiced it so much, we got pretty good at it.
Awesome, awesome.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
All right, that's great. Great comment. Great job, Marcy. Let's unmute ourselves, please. Unmute ourselves. Come on, come on, come on. All right, let's give her a big hand. All right. Woo! That's fantastic. Marcy, we're going to go in. You're welcome to stay, or if you have a hard stop and have to leave, we understand. We're going to go into a little round robin here on finding out, what we learned today from your talk. So appreciate you, the time that you spend, and you're welcome anytime. You're one of the great ones.
Thank you, Neil.
We do appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. This is a mutual appreciation society. All right. You be well. Thanks,
Thanks.
Marcy. Okay, so what did we learn from Marcy Murphy today? Woo! Good stuff. Patty. Patty's not talking. Okay. Who else wants to go first? You guys didn't learn anything today? Come on.
I learned that she actually uses a text company called Driven that actually helps her in being able to market to her clientele and reach out to them. My question is, I should have asked was, how do they get access to her database? That was something, does she give them a list of people to send those text messages out, or does the company get access to her data? That was a question I forgot to ask her. It just came to mind.
Yeah. Andrea, I would look up Driven on Google and give them a call. I'm sure they give you an answer pretty quickly.
So Neil, I do Driven also. And yes, you give them all your numbers. They we did something and we downloaded all the stuff off of my phone and we give them numbers, and I haven't filled out as much information as they need. But lately I've been doing very well with the responses that, to things. In fact, I've got a couple of text messages that came in while we were sitting here that I need to respond to.
Oh, that's cool. Quite a testimonial. Good stuff.
It's expensive though. It's about $1,300 a month. So.
Well, that is a lot of money, but it's 1/10 of an escrow.
That's true.
That's true.
Got it. Okay. Good question, Andrea. Thank you, Kathy. All right. What else did we learn today? What else did we learn?
Well, she changed her time to call expireds when she realized that people were calling before her. So I thought you couldn't start before 8 o'clock, but apparently you can start at 7:30. So
You have to be careful with that because there are some rules, and I don't want to recommend to anyone, and I'm sure she doesn't, to do anything that would get you in trouble. So just be careful with that. Does anybody get that maybe the way you're doing it, because 50 deals is a good amount of deals. Anybody? Yes, no? 50 deals is a good amount of deals.
Yeah.
And she's calling and she's being focused and she's making $500,000 a year. You make $500,000 a year. Why do you change? It's good stuff, right? But she's open-minded enough to take the information and say, well, okay, let's take another look at this from a different angle and see what we can do with it. And then she was able to add another $300,000 to her income by doing that in the next year. And then by doing that, she was able to add another 400,000 from 800 to, she'll hit $1.2 million this year selling houses in Scottsdale, but she was smarter. Instead of doing 100 or 120, she's going to do 60 or 70 because she moved the price point up. That's pretty brilliant thinking. Don't tell me she doesn't know the numbers. All right, what else did we learn today? Anything else?
The power of listening. She,
Power of listening, yes.
I think what the gentleman that went door knocking with her was, he didn't realize that she was asking a question and waiting for an answer. And they just tended to feel comfortable when they felt like they couldn't wait her out, so they would answer. And then she appears to be somebody that you can easily talk to, I guess.
Yeah. She listens and then she answers the question. She doesn't wait. She doesn't think about what the next answer is. She just listens to the client. That's very powerful. Very good stuff. All right.
Neil,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
she's very disciplined and she's very open, like you said, to getting better. You know, however small it is, it makes a big difference. And that's, I know her a little bit, and she's very disciplined, and you know, to find people in our community of real estate that are disciplined, that show up, that do what they say they're going to do, all of us know how rare that is, right?
It's a rare animal in our business, that's for sure. Absolutely.
I think one of the things, I don't know if anybody said this, but she said early on, I don't think it was early on, that she has a very loving factor in her approach to people. And I think that's something that is important and needed to be noted.
I think she said lead with love.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down here. I think.
Yeah, that's what her motto is. Yeah.
Yeah, lead with love. Yeah, great stuff. Good
You know,
stuff.
what's interesting, Neil, is, all these.
Speak up a little, Miguel. Please.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, what's interesting is the number of top producers and that you interview, many of them read books or are constantly reading books. And I read books from time to time, but I don't consistently stay in them or I don't listen to them. But every time I do, my mindset is strong that day. And I think it's just something that we need to continue to do, is keep listening to good books or reading good books and good messages throughout the day or in the morning. So it's very interesting how she reads so many books.
100%. I believe this very, very strongly, and I'm using it myself, that if one would just listen to these recordings 2 or 3 times a week, choose a different one each week, different 2 or 3, that you could stay up, excited and enthusiastic all day long. There are so many different little nuggets of great ideas. And what's frustrating for me is that I keep talking about this, and a few of you are doing that, most of you aren't. And there's a master's education in real estate in these videos. So take a look at them. We're going to post them as a podcast. I think Alma's working on that as we speak, so that you can listen to them in the car too. Anyway, this is pretty powerful stuff. Take advantage of it. All right, I don't have anything else.
Neil,
Go ahead.
kind of piggybacking on Miguel's comment, the book thing and then the videos. I've listened to so many books that you've given me, and I've watched so many of those interviews that a lot of the stuff that I read in the books kind of fits in a glove with a lot of those interviews and what those top agents are doing. It's almost like, if they all do the same thing, why can't we replicate it?
It's an old story. as a kid, you could lead a horse to water, but you couldn't make them drink. Boy, that took me a long time to figure out what the hell they were talking about. But that's what you're talking about, you know? And some people have to go in a different direction, and sometimes that's good. Sometimes that is good. But most agents, real estate agents, I don't know, they just, somebody else has done it before them. Oh, no, I'm not gonna do that. That's, you know, no way. Nuts. Okay, I don't have anything else here. I hope you enjoyed it. I think Marcy is very down to earth, very philanthropic, leads with love, young lady, and has really taken one coaching call, one idea. We did some follow-up stuff with it, but she took that one idea and parlayed it into life-changing money and turned around and is taking some of that money and helping change other lives. So that's what we're all about. That's what we are all about. So let's get out there. Let's do this. Jesse, Robert, we have, who's the next call?
All right, we have Armin, Adriana, Barry, Frank, and another great meeting by Jocelyn at 3:30.
All right, everybody. Thank you much. Let's rock and roll.
I love those meetings.
Well, thank you, and we love you.